268. Right, moving on to some news from around the world. Now, a U.S. strike killed top Iranian commander Qassem Soleimani and the deputy head of Iraq's Hashd al-Shabi military force at Baghdad's airport this morning. The international airport was hit in a volley of missiles just after midnight. The Hashd al-Shabi is a network of mostly Shiite armed units, many of whom have very close ties to Tehran, who have been officially incorporated into Iraq's state security forces. U.S. troops arrived in Kuwait with the 82nd Airborne Division on Thursday as part of the Immediate Response Force, as cited by the U.S. Department of Defense. The deployment comes hours before 3 Katyusha rockets fell on Baghdad International Airport. The rockets targeted a Hashd al-Shabi convoy and left 8 people dead, including important figures, and injuring several other people. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran have ramped up in the region over U.S. economic sanctions hurting the Iranian economy. The two sides have traded blame over attacks on oil installations, militia arms depots, as well as military bases hosting the U.S. forces. Now, I'm now joined by a defense analyst, Qamar Agha, on the phone line from New Delhi. Mr. Agha, good morning to you and welcome to the Breakfast Show on DD News and DD India. Your thoughts on the veracity of these reports about the death of the Iranian military commander?
I believe it's a very, very major operation because Soleimani is one of the top general of the Iranian army. He was the leader of Islamic Revolutionary Guard, which is the most powerful military institution in Iran. He was responsible. He, in fact, is the one who fought against the ISIS in Iraq and Syria, both the places. He was involved in not only in Iraq but also in Syria. And it is said, he is the one who advised Iranian government that the president of Syria should remain in power and should be supported, otherwise there would be an anti-Iranian group would take over. In Iraq also, he was the one who helped form the Hizb Shabi, the pro-Iranian Shia militia. So therefore, he is a very important figure in the Iranian military institutions, and he was very close to the president, not only president but also with the supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei. So therefore, his absence or his death would create a major rift between Iran and United States in the coming days. Let's see what happens, how Iran responds, because in the past we have seen Iran used to take strong measures or reiterated its position of striking back at whether it is a British asset or it is an American or any other. So let's see whether Iranians prefer to go to take military action against the American interest in the region, right, or come to the negotiating table.
Indeed. Mr. Agha, now Qassem Soleimani is no ordinary soldier. He is the head of the elite Quds force of Iran. He is a towering figure, some would say, in Iranian armed forces. Now, how would his killing affect the Iran-US relations going forward? Do you think tensions will further exacerbate and influence other countries in the region and beyond?
You see, Iranians have their, allies in the region.
All right, we'll try to fix that audio line with Qamar Agha. But in the meantime, just after the incident, U.S. President Donald Trump has tweeted the flag. Let's take a look at what Trump has said. In fact, in news just coming in, Trump has tweeted an image of the U.S. flag that's coming just about 38 minutes before as we speak. And that's the tweet there. Donald J. Trump, US President, tweeting the American flag, and possibly in response to the killing of Qassem Soleimani at the Baghdad International Airport. Remember, Qassem Soleimani is the chief of the elite Quds force of Iran, and he is a leading figure in the Iranian armed forces.
Hello.
Right, I'm told we've tried to fix that audio link with Qamar Agha, but in the meantime, just to recap for the benefit of viewers who might just be tuning in, this is a big news coming in from the Persian Gulf as we speak. The head of the elite Iranian Quds force, General Qassem Soleimani, has been killed in a strike at the Baghdad airport in neighboring Iraq. And this could potentially destabilize the entire region and beyond, and affect countries in the region and beyond. I'm told we have another colleague joining us on the phone line, this time Lalit K. Jha from the US. Lalit, if you're with me, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Lalit, now this is big news. This could potentially destabilize the entire West Asian region and beyond. And Trump has just moments ago tweeted a picture of the American flag without saying much. But the message is very clear that the US sees itself as a big achievement in killing the one man standing in their way between influencing the developments in the region and beyond. So Qassem Soleimani, the leader of the Iranian Quds force, has been killed at a strike at the Baghdad airport. Dalit?
Yeah, definitely. As you have said, President Trump has tweeted a flag of the United States. He hasn't said much, but definitely this strike by the U.S. Killing the Iranian general is definitely going to increase the tension in the region, right?
Indeed. And how might this killing of General Qassem Soleimani, Lalit, affect the US-Iran relations going forward? Not that we have much to speak about the relations today, because Trump, for one, has imposed sanctions on Iran, pulled the US out of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Trump has also accused Iran of destabilizing Syria and Iraq. So he's accused Iran all the way of fomenting violence and unrest in the region. So how might this affect the US-Iran ties going forward, especially given the fact that this has come barely a month before the 2020 US elections in the US, Lalit? And Trump, I'm sure, will be looking for one key foreign policy success to shore up support among his constituents.
Yeah, definitely. As you know, a few days ago, Trump had warned Iran in his tweets that Iran has to face consequences for the attack on its embassy in Iraq. And the same night, he told reporters that he is a man of peace, or not like to have war with Iran. But today, you have seen the developments here. So this is typically how President Trump operates, trying to sometimes he sends confusing signals to his adversaries, but strikes at an appropriate time. This is what he has done this time. And definitely this is going to escalate the tension in the region. Now we have to see what kind of reaction comes out from Iran.
Absolutely. And talking about the domestic American politics, Lalit, how might this play out in the election year? You think the Republicans and Trump in particular will try to hard sell this issue to his constituents to encash this going forward, especially at a time when the Democrats are trying to figure out who might actually end up taking on Trump going forward?
As you know, we are also from a democratic country, and we know it is several months, about a year before the elections, right? So it's too early to say what impact this would have on the elections in November 2020. Because, you know, when people go out to vote, generally we have seen decisions was taken a few weeks ago, at the most a few weeks ago, or a few days in advance. So it is too early to say what impact this will have. But as of now, this will have some swing in the opinions, people's opinion towards him. Definitely, that's the case at the time when he's facing impeachment.
Lalit, do stay on. I want to go across to another of my guests. Qamar Agha was joining us on the phone line. Mr. Qamar Agha, I was asking my colleague Lalit K. Jha in the US, How might this killing of General Qassem Soleimani affect American domestic politics, given the fact that this is happening barely a few months ahead of the 2020 U.S. elections? So will this hurt or benefit the Republicans and Trump in particular?
Because it's a major achievement as far as President Trump is concerned. He will, try to mobilize public opinion against Iran in United States. Indirectly, yes, it would help President Trump, because Iran is generally considered by the Republicans, mainly Republicans, as an anti-American force, and Iranians are, in fact, opposed to American influence in the region.
Right.
And Soleimani is one of the most top generals, who has developed this arc of resistance, which Iranian called it, the alliance between Iraq, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and then Houthi rebels in North Yemen. So this was a major alliance, which was forged by Soleimani. And Soleimani was the one, he has also of the opinion that Russian and Chinese should be brought in this arc and anti-American force, will become a viable anti-American force in the Middle East. So he is a very important advisor to the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. His absence would be a major problem, and Americans were looking after him, targeting him for quite some time, and now they have got a chance, because Americans were tolerating mainly because he was last 2-3 years he was engaged in fighting ISIS, so American allowed him to do that, But later of these, ever since sanctions was imposed, so he was the main target, because it is believed that he is the one. He was his force was behind Khamenei. So Khamenei must be weakened now in Iran. This is what I believe.
Right. Kamar Aga, do stay on. I want to go across to Press Trust of India's Lalit Keja, who is still on the phone line from the US. Lalit, now retaliation is near certain from Iran. Iran has in the past threatened to stop or block the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf to harm or hurt American interests in the region and beyond. So how is Washington reacting to all of this as we speak? I'm sure it's still early days for you to get some official reactions from White House or the State Department. But still, given the fact that you've been tracking the U.S. foreign policy for a long time now, what might be the American fears going forward, especially given the Iran threats to destabilize the region and beyond, especially from India's perspective about energy security and oil imports and maritime shipping lanes through the Persian Gulf?
Yeah, U.S. has always takes into account the actions it takes, and it does expect some kind of retaliation from Iran. Its planners must have taken that into account when President Trump, the Pentagon has just announced that the order for the strike was given by President Trump himself. So now one has to wait and watch to see what kind of retaliation comes from Iran right now. But for immediately, it will definitely have an impact on India's energy security, and also could be on the Shahbaz port, although U.S. has given very specific exemptions from its Iranian sanctions to India on developments in Shahbaz ports.
Right, and Lalit, very quickly, we've heard about how India, Afghanistan and Iran have very recently held a trilateral meeting to take stock of development efforts in reference to Chabahar port in Iran. India is heavily invested in Iranian infrastructure development, the north-south transport corridor, energy security, and also in terms of India's outreach to the Arab world and the Islamic countries and OIC in particular. Now, what's in it for India now? Because tensions in India's immediate neighborhood will be a cause of concern for policymakers in Delhi. So, how might India negotiate this immediate in the near term, given the tensions in the Persian Gulf? Lalit?
Yeah, right. Given India's energy security needs, which majority of significant amount we depend on that part of the world, we also have a huge, large number of our own people working in the Middle East. But so far, as you know, there has been understanding. The U.S. has shown some understanding of India's concerns, and that's why, and India's interest. That's why you have seen that even the Trump administration has tried to isolate India's security needs, energy needs, and its effort to provide alternative route for supply to Afghanistan through Iran. So I expect that kind of maturity understanding to continue from the American side. But how the situation escalates in the coming days and weeks, one has to see. One has to wait for the development of those decisions.
Absolutely. Lalit, do stay on. I want to go across to Kamar Aga for his comments. Kamar Aga, what's in it for India now? Iran is a neighbor. Iran is a key supplier of oil for India, although India has been cutting down on oil imports from Iran in the last few years. Iran is also important for the Chabahar port for access to and from Afghanistan. And we're also discussing about maritime security. So what are the likely consequences or implications for India from the killing of Qassem Soleimani going forward?
You see, India maintains good relations with both Iran as well as United States. And India's policy would be India would advise both countries to maintain calm in the region. India will prefer, secondly, we have seen Iran in the past, Iran would not, normally Iran don't wage a war against the Americans. It generally hit the American interest in the region or its allies, weakens its allies. So therefore, I don't see full-fledged war between Iran and America in the near future because that Iranian understands very well, they cannot fight with the Americans directly. And Iranians are pragmatic that way, because they confront with Americans in the past to the extent, they can, the Americans continue to negotiate also indirectly with the Americans. So let's wait and see whether the Americans, Iranians go for negotiation or prefer the military action. But immediately, yes, they would retaliate some here and there for public purposes and then go for negotiations. Americans are also not very keen for a long war because if the war triggers, it will spread the whole region, America, in the entire Middle East region, and they would hit American targets in different countries. Indeed. And Iranians have the capability to hit these targets. For India, that would be very devastating because almost 75 to 80% oil supplies come from this region. We have about 75 lakhs Indians are working in this region. We have a big trade with these countries, over $200 billion.
Yes, those are very valid points you're making, Kamar Aga. I'll ask you to stay on. I'll also ask Lalit to stay on. Lalit, I'm sorry, but it might be very late in the night for you, but do stay on. I have another guest joining us on the phone line, PK Sehgal, a defense analyst. Good morning to you. Your initial thoughts on this big news coming out of West Asia, the Persian Gulf as we speak. The top Iranian general, Qassem Soleimani, has been killed in a U.S. strike on the Baghdad International Airport in Iraq. From your perspective, your vantage, how might this affect or destabilize the relations which India has with both Iran and the U.S. on the one hand, and will it escalate military tensions between Iran and the West going forward? Your thoughts?
There's absolutely no denying the fact there's a very, very serious escalation. I think the Americans will have to pay a price for it. They've killed at one go senior most commander of the Iranian forces as well as the Iraqi forces. Both the general and and according to me, it will create a huge turmoil in the Middle East, and India would be particularly affected because any turmoil in the Middle East has implications on oil exports and oil imports. The Middle East is the one which supplies maximum oil to India as well as to Japan and China. And
Right.
its ramifications are going to be very, very serious for the entire Middle East as well as the world. Iranians are not going to take it lying down, nor are the Iraqis going to lie down. The initial reaction
Absolutely.
of Iraq is that it's been a very cowardly act.
Right,
But-
and very quickly, Mr. Sehgal, you say that a retaliation is imminent, and many people might agree with you on that count. But what do you foresee happening? Could Iran, for instance, block the Strait of Hormuz, block the Persian Gulf, block the shipping lanes, or also hurt American interests in the region? So, what kind of retaliation do you anticipate?
No, blocking the Strait of Hormuz would be actually creating escalation beyond imagination, because that will affect the entire world. Because
Right.
55% of the entire oil flow comes from Strait of Hormuz. That will be actually an act of war, and that will not be only punishing America; it will be punishing the entire world. I don't think Iran is likely to do that, but they will seriously hurt American interests in the Middle East. They could once again attack oil fields in Saudi Arabia, which is close to
Right.
American ally. Also, they could do UAE. But according to me, and they could also add certain American assets in that area in terms of their flotilla. But that again will tantamount to a very serious escalation. My personal feeling is that they will do something in Saudi Arabia and UAE, etc.
Right. In news just coming in, the price of oil, viewers, has shot up because of this incident in Iraq, and the price of oil per barrel has shot up by $3. That's the news coming in. But I want to thank my guests, Kamaraga, Lalit K. Jha and P.K. Sehgal, for joining us on this big breaking news on DD News and DD India. That's